Hello, hello. Two Strokes Joe here. Just an update on what parts we've got for the bike and then a few tips of what I do and how I run my bike. So, what parts we've got are new exhaust gasket, if you can see that there. New clutch lever. Not a genuine Yamaha part because I don't really care about that. If it looks the part and works, then that's all that matters. New front brake lever, seeing as that wrist snapped the last one off. And the main part of all, new forks, which are in really good condition. There's no chunks took out of them, paint's relatively alright. Stanchions have no pitting in, tiny little bit at the top, but it's about it. New seals and dust covers will go in, then they should be ready to go. Probably give them another lick of paint just to make them look a bit more fancy. People who I got them off was Fred 2-stroke, eBay links somewhere down here, and the brake levers and exhaust gaskets were from M&P on eBay. It's M_and_P. So if you want to get any parts from them, you should have some decent ones for you. So onto the tips side of things. Not so much tips, but it's just what I do and how I run my bike, and it's relatively reliable for considering every time I use it I'll rag the absolute death out of it. We'll start with reeds. What reeds to use, or what I use anyway, my advice. These reeds are the standard reeds that you get in the RD125. As you can see, the parts broke away because these steel reeds, they do become brittle at some point. All reeds do, but you know, steel ones, there's not much give in them. They're very, very hard, a lot heavier as well. So the first reeds I bought for mine were high-tech fibre reeds, which were relatively good. They were in my bike for 2 years, took them out and they were fine. Hadn't broken away, hadn't deteriorated at all, they were just fine. And now I'm running Boyce dual stage reeds. The dual stage part, can I tell the difference? Not really. I don't know whether you'd have to have your bike highly tuned to tell the difference or standard tuned to tell the difference, I don't know. But if you have a standard bike and you have a standard pipe on, they will make a difference because it helps you rev a lot more crisp. The exhaust gaskets move in a lot faster because obviously the reeds are a lot lighter and a lot thinner and flex more. But it is worth checking your reeds every now and then. You know, if you ride it as much as I do, I like to keep an eye on them, just make sure they aren't breaking away or cracking or anything, because petrol and oil is going through them. Yeah, that's reeds. So, onto barrels. A lot of people always ask, what barrel's this, what barrel's that, what does 10W mean, what's 10V, what's the differences? From my point of view, the differences, what I can see, what I've examined, I'm no pro mind, but this here is a 10V barrel. The differences important wise, the inlet on the reed side is fine. On the outlet on the reed side, it comes out more of a block. Whereas on the 10W, it goes out and it chamfers down to obviously let the gases flow a lot more. The exhaust side is the most restrictive side. Not here, but on the inlet of the exhaust side, it's a lot more squished and a lot more narrow. Everything else seems to be about the same as a 10W. I don't know for sure, but from looking by eye, that's what I can see the differences. As you can see on the 10W, not that you can see, but as it goes in, it chamfers down into the barrel to let the exhaust gases flow more. And on the exhaust side, it's a lot more wider. On the inlet of the exhaust side, it's a lot more wider. Tips I do, what I do to my barrels, just to make it rev cleaner and run smoother, is on the inlet of the exhaust side, you get like a little ridge all the way around from the original casting out the factory. Now if you get your Dremel in and smooth all that out, and just smooth the rest of the pot out, you can higher and lower them by 1 mil each side or 2 mil. Just depends how extreme you want your tune to go. I just take away the ridge basically and just smooth it all out and give it a little bit of a polish. The same goes as the fins here. If you just smooth as much as you can out with a Dremel, don't make them too pointy that they'll break away, or too thin. You just want them so they're smooth, so the gases flow a lot smoother. Reed side, same again. You'll feel all the imperfections from the cast. If you just smooth it all out, everything like that, your bike should rev and run. You won't really tell the difference of tick over, but revving wise, you should be able to tell the difference. It should be a lot more smoother and a lot more cleaner. I don't want to really go too far with tuning it because then it becomes really unreliable. I used to ride mine every day to work and back, and now I don't so much. When I was riding it to work and back every day, it was pretty reliable. Didn't need much attention really, obviously, apart from putting oil in and putting fuel in. Blew up a few times though due to my style of riding, but that's what happens with two strokes. Exhausts, what exhausts to use? People say Allspeed, people say Microns, you know, Jim Lomas. There's a couple more makes out there, but the most common is Microns and Allspeeds, short cans and long cans. I've used a large can Allspeed before, and my views on that, didn't like it. Didn't have no go, no oomph. Low end power was good, you know, like if you were just pottering about and you didn't want to rag your bike, but for me, just didn't rev out as much as I thought it would, nothing like that. Sounded alright though. Never tried a short can Allspeed, which I'd like to because they sound very nice. Micron short can, I used one of them, I thought it was brilliant, and it was a hell of a lot faster than the Allspeed. A lot more noisy though, very noisy. Then I went on to another Micron, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is a 90s Micron, which has the interchangeable end cans. I had one of them with a longish end can on. That performed similar to the small can Micron, revved out pretty high, give you lots of good power. On the dyno when I had that on, it did 22.90 I think final power output was. That was running a 2mm oversized though. It works out like 133cc I think or something like that maybe. Could be wrong again though, because my maths is absolutely dire. But at the minute I'm running a Jim Lomas. I think it's a road pipe because it doesn't have the tubular manifold, it has like a bit of a square one. It gives the same performance as what the 90s Micron did. Sounds a lot nicer. It's stainless steel with a nice aluminium end can on. Sounds lovely. What I would recommend is, it's your personal choice. Allspeeds sound nice, aren't as fast as the Microns. Depends what type of riding you do. If you want to lash about, a Micron. I did hear that the shorter the end can, the better it is for the more ragging you have, the more flat out you go. Don't believe me on that. I'm not too sure about that though. Oil, what oil do you use? So many arguments about which oil's best, which one's not best. People say use cheap oil, people say use most expensive oil. You can get oil anywhere from like a couple of quid to £20 upwards. I use my bike every day, well I used to. For expensive oils it wouldn't be cost effective to me because I'm going through a litre every 2 weeks. I use Castrol Power One Racing. It's the best one you can get out of a mid-range. It's £13 a litre I think it is. I've used that since I've owned the bike. I've never had no oil problems whatsoever. No seizures due to oil or anything. I was using an oil pump. Now I took that off because I had problems with the oil pump. So now I run premix because I know how much oil I'm putting in. Just didn't like to rely on an oil pump that I might not have been working while I was flat out for my bike to seize up while I'm absolutely giving it the death. People say use Purtolene. So many arguments. Mortal as well. They all make good oils. My views, better oil you use, the longer your bike will last. It doesn't matter what riding style you have. Better quality oils, if you're just pottering about all the time, they do tend to cork up. Hello, hello. Two Strokes Joe here. Just an update on what parts we've got for the bike and then a few tips of what I do and how I run my bike. So, what parts we've got are new exhaust gasket, if you can see that there. New clutch lever, not a genuine Yamaha part because I don't really care about that. If it looks the part and works, then that's all that matters. New front brake lever, seeing as that wrist snapped the last one off. And the main part of all, new forks, which are in really good condition. There's no chunks took out of them, paint's relatively alright. Stanchions have no pitting in, tiny little bit at the top, but that's about it. New seals and dust covers will go in, then they should be ready to go. Probably give them another lick of paint just to make them look a bit more fancy. People who I got them off was Fred 2-stroke, eBay links somewhere down here, and the brake levers and exhaust gaskets were from M&P on eBay. It's M_and_P. So if you want to get any parts from them, you should have some decent ones for you. Gearbox oil. People always ask what gearbox oil to put in. I used to use Mortal. I now use Castrol Power One Racing 1030 4-stroke oil, which is this one here. I get no clutch slip with it, because a lot of new oils you can get clutch slip on old bikes due to the additives in it and everything like that. That works fine for me. The Mortal one did. I can't remember which one it was, but you know, it works fine for me. Jets, jetting your bike up. If you put an exhaust on, standard jets on a 12A model is 190, I think. The 10Ws are 130. I've never used a 10W carb before, so I wouldn't know how to jet them, but for the 12A models, I've only ever jetted mine up 20, from 190 to 210. I did do a 220, didn't really make any difference at all, so I just went back to the 210 and it runs fine. Never had no seizure problems due to it, nothing, runs fine. Obviously for you to run a 210, depends on what your carb mixture's like and obviously what oil you run as well. Petrol wise, I always use super unleaded. I just think the bike runs better on it. It's better for the bike, I think, than the standard oil, especially Supermarket petrols are absolutely horrible. Don't rate them. I put a full tank of Supermarket fuel in. I'm sure it was like 90% water. The bike wouldn't start the next day. I had to drain it out. Gearing wise, I just leave mine as standard gearing. Tops out at 95. I don't believe all these people that say, oh, I had one back in the day and it did 110 mile an hour, because it didn't. I know for a fact it didn't. It's impossible. I had to change my gearing up. Gearing wise, it would be 110 mile an hour, but power wise, it just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't like to say it's impossible, but you must be going down a big hill to be able to do 110 mile an hour, and especially for your bike not to blow. People who highly tune them, I know of one person, Norbo, who had nitrous on his with a 175 big ball kit on, I think. He might correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But he didn't do much to the bike itself, but he said on a very, very good day, absolutely flat out with nitrous, it did, I think it was 116 mile an hour. Now that's a big feat, and people try to tell me that all he did was put an exhaust and jet it up and he did 110 mile an hour. No, you can't. Yeah, but that's it on the tip side, and that's how we're going for the bike parts. Hopefully we'll start building soon. Maybe get the forks painted and order some seals for the forks, and then we can start on building the bike back up. My injuries, still got a pot on, still using my brace. This hand's getting better. I've got a lot more movement when I've got the brace off, just it still hurts around my wrist. All the muscles still bruised and sore. Every time I knock it, it hurts. Get to find out in a week's time whether that one's going to be alright or not. Hopefully no pot on, fingers crossed. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share.